Number 1. This 1970 Ford Torino GT honestly feels like the definition of classic American muscle. The moment I saw this car, I immediately thought about how different vehicles from the late 60s and early 70s were compared to modern cars today. Back then, muscle cars were built with attitude, personality, and bold styling that demanded attention everywhere they went. And in my opinion, this Torino GT captures that spirit perfectly. The bright red exterior is probably the first thing that grabs everyone's attention. Personally, I think red is one of the best colors for a vintage muscle car because it amplifies the aggressive personality of the vehicle. This isn't the kind of car that quietly blends into traffic. Everything about it feels loud, confident, and unapologetically American. Combined with the long body lines, scooped hood, chrome trim, and hideaway headlights, this Torino has a road presence that still feels intimidating even more than 50 years later. One thing I really appreciate is how clean and original the car appears to be. According to the seller, it has been garage kept and remains all original, which honestly feels pretty rare nowadays. A lot of classic muscle cars were modified heavily over the decades, raced hard, or simply neglected over time. But this Torino sounds like one of those cars that was carefully preserved and respected by its owners. In my opinion, originality adds a huge amount of character and value to a classic vehicle. Under the hood sits the famous 351 Cleveland V8, and honestly, I think that engine is one of Ford's best creations from the muscle car era. The Cleveland engines became legendary because they offered strong power while still being reliable and durable. Personally, I think the 351 Cleveland delivers exactly the kind of driving experience people want from an old-school muscle car. It has that deep V8 rumble, smooth torque, and raw mechanical personality that modern turbocharged engines often fail to replicate. The seller also mentions that the engine bay is detailed, and to me, that says a lot about the level of care this car received. People who keep engine compartments clean usually take pride in ownership. It gives the impression that this Torino wasn't just stored away forgotten in a garage, it was genuinely appreciated and maintained over the years. Another thing that stands out to me is the dual exhaust system with the H-pipe and chrome tips. Honestly, in my opinion, sound is one of the most important parts of the muscle car experience. Modern performance cars can be incredibly fast, but many of them sound too quiet or artificial. Classic V8 cars like this Torino produce a completely different kind of sound, deep, aggressive, and emotional. I can easily imagine this car starting up with that unmistakable rumble echoing through the neighborhood. The FMX automatic transmission also fits the personality of this car really well in my opinion. While some enthusiasts prefer manual transmissions, I actually think an automatic works perfectly in a large muscle cruiser like the Torino GT. It makes the car feel smooth and comfortable during regular driving while still allowing the V8 power to shine when you press the throttle. One detail that classic Ford fans will immediately appreciate is the 9-inch rear end. The Ford 9-inch rear axle is legendary in the automotive world because of its durability and strength. In my opinion, having that setup makes the car feel even more solid and capable, especially for a powerful muscle car from this era. The front power disc brakes are another important upgrade that I personally appreciate. Older muscle cars were built for straight-line speed, but braking systems from that time period were not always great by modern standards. Having front power disc brakes likely makes this Torino much safer and more enjoyable to drive today. Visually, I think the chrome Magnum wheels paired with the BF Goodrich white letter tires complete the car perfectly. Honestly, muscle cars from this era just look right with raised white letter tires. It instantly creates that authentic 70s performance look that enthusiasts love so much. And then there are the hideaway headlights, which might actually be one of my favorite features on the entire car. Personally, I've always thought hidden headlights make classic muscle cars look even cooler and more aggressive. Even today, that design still feels unique and futuristic. The seller says the car has around 46,000 miles, and honestly, that sounds impressive for a 50-plus-year-old vehicle. Low-mileage examples like this are becoming harder to find because many classic muscle cars lived hard lives over the decades. Now, the asking price is $39,500. And while that may sound expensive to some people, in my opinion, it makes sense considering the condition, originality, and overall presentation of the car. Classic muscle cars in clean condition continue to rise in value every year, especially well-preserved examples like this. What I personally love most about this 1970 Ford Torino GT is the feeling it creates. Modern cars are filled with technology, screens, sensors, and computers, but classic muscle cars like this feel raw and alive. You hear the engine, feel the vibrations, smell the gasoline, and experience the road in a completely different way. Overall, in my opinion, this Torino GT feels like a true symbol of the golden age of American muscle cars. It has bold styling, legendary V8 power, timeless design, and a personality that modern vehicles simply can't duplicate. And honestly, I think this is exactly the kind of car that reminds people why classic American muscle will always remain special. Number 2. Today we're checking out a very bold-looking 1971 Ford Torino powered by the legendary 351 Cleveland engine, and honestly, this is the kind of classic muscle car that instantly grabs attention. Between the aggressive body styling, the manual transmission, and that deep purple exterior, this Torino has a very strong street presence that feels straight out of the golden era of American performance cars. In my opinion, the 1971 Torino is one of the most underrated muscle cars from the early 70s. It has that long, muscular body design that Ford was known for during the muscle car wars, but it still doesn't get talked about as much as Mustangs or Chevelles. That actually makes cars like this feel a little more unique at local car meets and shows because you simply don't see them everywhere. This particular car is equipped with the famous 351 Cleveland V8, an engine that many Ford enthusiasts still respect today because of its strong performance potential and distinctive sound. Paired with a manual transmission, this Torino probably delivers a much more engaging driving experience compared to a lot of automatic classics from the same era. Personally, I think muscle cars are always more exciting when you can shift gears yourself because it adds to that raw, old-school feeling. The listing says the car has around 84,000 miles and comes with a clean title, which is always a positive sign when shopping for older vehicles. The seller also mentions that there's no significant damage or major problems reported, and apparently a lot of work has already been completed on the car, with details shown in the last photo of the listing. Another thing that stands out is the color combination. The purple exterior paired with the black interior gives this Torino a very aggressive but stylish look. Honestly, not every classic muscle car can pull off purple successfully, but on a big-body Ford like this, I think it works really well. It gives the car extra personality and helps separate it from the usual red, black, or blue muscle cars you normally see. What I personally like about cars like this is that they still feel mechanical and connected to the road. Modern performance cars are fast, but many of them rely heavily on computers and technology. A classic Torino with a big V8 and a manual transmission gives you a completely different driving experience. You hear the engine, feel the shifts, and experience the car in a much more direct way. The 1971 model year was also an interesting time for muscle cars because manufacturers were still building powerful V8 machines before emissions regulations and rising fuel concerns began changing the industry later in the decade. Because of that, early 70s muscle cars still carry a lot of the attitude and performance spirit from the late 60s era. In my opinion, this Torino could work well for someone looking for a classic that's already presentable and enjoyable without needing a full restoration project. It sounds like the car has already received attention mechanically, which can save a future owner a lot of headaches and expenses. The seller specifically mentions no trades and requests appointments to see the vehicle, which usually tells me they're serious about selling and probably want to deal only with genuinely interested buyers. Located in Lyons, New York, this 1971 Ford Torino with a 351 Cleveland engine is listed for $27,000. Overall, I think this is a very cool example of a classic Ford muscle car with strong styling, a respected V8 engine, and the kind of vintage road presence that still turns heads more than 50 years later. Number 3. A well-preserved 1972 Buick Skylark Custom Sedan that captures the smooth and comfortable character of early 1970s American motoring while remaining practical enough to be enjoyed as a regular driver today. In my opinion, cars like this often go overlooked compared to more famous muscle cars from the same era, but that is exactly what makes them appealing to many classic car enthusiasts. Instead of focusing purely on aggressive performance, the Skylark delivers a balanced combination of vintage styling, everyday comfort, dependable V8 power, and authentic American luxury features that defined Buick during the early 70s. Finished in a gold exterior paired with a brown interior, this sedan carries a warm, period-correct appearance that perfectly reflects the styling trends of its generation. Personally, I think the gold and brown color combination gives the car a very nostalgic personality that instantly feels connected to the era in which it was built. Under the hood, this 1972 Buick Skylark is equipped with a 350 cubic inch V8 engine paired with a 350 automatic transmission. In my opinion, this drivetrain combination is one of the reasons these cars remain enjoyable and dependable even decades later. The Buick 350 V8 has long been respected for its smooth operation, solid low-end torque, and comfortable cruising ability. Rather than being an extreme high-horsepower muscle car, the Skylark was designed to provide effortless highway driving and relaxed everyday usability, which is something many classic car buyers still appreciate today. Combined with the automatic transmission, the vehicle likely delivers a smooth and easy driving experience that makes it suitable for both weekend cruising and regular road use. One of the features that personally makes this Skylark stand out is the fact that it still retains several factory comfort and convenience options. The car comes equipped with air conditioning, an AM radio, rear window defogger, and power drum brakes. In my opinion, these details help preserve the authentic driving experience of a premium early 1970s Buick, while also making the car more enjoyable for modern drivers. Air conditioning is especially valuable in vintage cars because many older vehicles become uncomfortable during warmer weather, so having a functioning factory AC system can significantly improve usability. The rear defogger and power brake setup also reflect the type of comfort-oriented engineering that Buick was known for during this era. According to the seller, the vehicle runs, drives, and looks great while also being driven daily. Personally, I think that is one of the most important details in the entire listing because many classic cars spend more time sitting in garages than actually being used on the road. A classic car that is driven regularly often benefits from more consistent maintenance and mechanical attention compared to vehicles left unused for long periods of time. The seller also mentions that the car has received several recent updates, including brand new weather seals, a new headliner, and many additional replacement parts. In my opinion, these improvements show that effort has been invested into maintaining and preserving the vehicle rather than simply selling it as an untouched project. Another detail that adds character and historical value to this Buick is the inclusion of the original owner's manual along with records dating all the way back to 1972. Personally, I think documentation like this greatly increases the appeal of a classic car because it provides insight into the vehicle's history and ownership over the decades. Cars with long-term records often feel more authentic and cared for compared to vehicles with unknown backgrounds. The seller also includes additional spare parts with the sale, which could be very useful for future maintenance or restoration work. The exterior styling of the 1972 Skylark reflects the larger, more luxurious design direction that American manufacturers embraced during the early 70s. The long body lines, wide stance, chrome trim, and full-size sedan proportions give the car a commanding road presence that modern vehicles rarely replicate. In my opinion, sedans like this have started gaining more appreciation in recent years because they offer a different kind of classic car experience compared to smaller muscle coupes. Instead of focusing only on speed, they emphasize comfort, smooth cruising, and vintage American character. This makes them especially appealing for enthusiasts who enjoy long drives, local car shows, or simply owning a classic car that stands apart from the more common Camaro and Mustang crowd. The seller notes that the vehicle has approximately 125,000 miles and has had more than 3 previous owners. While some buyers may initially focus on mileage, personally I think overall condition and maintenance history matter far more for a classic vehicle of this age. The fact that the car remains roadworthy, regularly driven, and supported by decades of records suggests that it has likely been maintained with care over the years. Older American V8 engines, especially Buick small blocks, are also known for being durable when properly serviced. The asking price for this 1972 Buick Skylark Custom Sedan is $9,800. In my opinion, that price feels relatively accessible considering the vehicle's condition, originality, included documentation, and drivable nature. Many classic cars today require expensive restoration work before they can even be enjoyed on the road, but this Skylark appears ready to drive immediately. That can make a major difference for buyers who want to experience classic car ownership without taking on a full restoration project. Located in Norwood, Pennsylvania, this Buick Skylark represents a classic American sedan that delivers vintage charm, reliable V8 performance, and authentic 70s comfort all in one package. In my opinion, this is the type of car that appeals to enthusiasts who appreciate originality, drivability, and nostalgia rather than extreme modifications or high-performance racing setups. With its smooth-running 350 V8 engine, factory comfort features, extensive records dating back to 1972, and classic gold over brown styling, this Skylark offers a genuine piece of American automotive history that can still be enjoyed on the road today just as it was decades ago. Number 4. A classic 1968 Ford Galaxie 500 two-door that truly represents the golden era of big American cars with powerful V8 engines, long body styling, and a smooth, comfortable driving experience that modern vehicles simply cannot recreate. In my opinion, this Galaxie stands out because it offers the perfect combination of vintage style, classic Ford performance, and affordable entry into the world of classic American cars. It is the kind of vehicle that immediately grabs attention not because it tries too hard, but because its size, sound, and presence naturally make an impression wherever it goes. Under the hood sits a strong 390 cubic inch V8 engine paired with a legendary C6 automatic transmission. This combination has always been respected among Ford enthusiasts because of its durability, smooth shifting, and reliable performance. According to the seller, the car runs and drives great and sounds excellent, which is exactly what many classic car fans want from a vintage cruiser like this. In my opinion, the 390 engine is one of the best choices for a full-size Galaxie because it delivers strong low-end torque and that deep rumbling exhaust tone that makes classic American V8 cars feel alive every time the engine starts. Unlike smaller muscle cars that are built mainly for aggressive performance, the Galaxie 500 delivers a more relaxed and comfortable driving experience. Cars like this were designed for cruising highways, attending weekend car shows, and enjoying long drives while surrounded by classic 1960s styling. In my opinion, that is one of the reasons why full-size classics like the Galaxie continue to attract enthusiasts today. They provide a completely different feeling behind the wheel compared to modern vehicles filled with electronics and complicated technology. Driving a car like this feels simple, mechanical, and connected in a way many newer cars no longer do. Visually, this Galaxie features a blue exterior paired with a matching blue interior, creating a very authentic and period-correct appearance for the late 1960s. The seller mentions that the paint is in really good condition, which is important because the large body lines and chrome trim on these cars look especially impressive when the exterior is clean and well maintained. In my opinion, the matching blue color combination gives the car even more personality and helps preserve its original vintage character rather than making it feel overly modernized. The interior is described as being in all-right condition overall. While not perfect, it appears clean enough to enjoy immediately while still maintaining the honest feel of a driver-quality classic car. In my opinion, many enthusiasts actually prefer cars like this because they can be driven and enjoyed without constantly worrying about keeping everything flawless. The interior likely still captures the atmosphere of late 1960s American motoring with its wide seating, simple dashboard design, and spacious cabin feel that modern cars rarely offer anymore. Another positive detail is the inclusion of new tires, which helps make the vehicle more road-ready for cruising and regular driving. The seller does mention a slight vibration at speeds above 60 miles per hour, although it is expected to be fixed soon. In my opinion, the honesty about that issue is actually reassuring because it shows transparency rather than trying to hide imperfections. Nearly every classic car has small issues somewhere, especially vehicles that have been driven and enjoyed over many years. Priced at only $12,000 and located in Oak Hill, Ohio, this 1968 Ford Galaxie 500 offers a very affordable opportunity to own a genuine American V8 classic. The seller is also interested in trades involving diesel trucks, a Harley-Davidson Street Glide, or something similar, which could make the deal even more interesting for the right buyer. Overall, in my opinion, this Galaxie is the kind of classic car that reminds people why vintage American vehicles remain so special decades later. From the sound of the 390 V8 engine to the long body styling and smooth cruising nature, this car delivers personality and nostalgia in a way modern vehicles simply cannot duplicate. It feels like a true old-school cruiser built to be enjoyed on the open road, at local car meets, and during relaxed weekend drives where the experience matters just as much as the destination. Number 5. 1975 Cadillac Coupe DeVille. In my opinion, this 1975 Cadillac Coupe DeVille is the perfect example of classic American luxury from an era when cars were built bigger, heavier, and far more dramatic than what we see on the road today. Everything about this Cadillac reflects the personality of the 1970s, from its massive body proportions to the oversized V8 engine and smooth cruising character. Cars like this were never designed to be small or subtle. Instead, they were built to provide comfort, presence, and effortless power while floating down the highway like a true luxury cruiser. Under the hood sits Cadillac's legendary 500 cubic inch 8.2-liter V8 engine paired with an automatic transmission. Personally, I think this engine is one of the most interesting parts of the entire car because it represents a time when American manufacturers competed by building larger and more powerful engines every year. The Cadillac 500 is famous for producing huge amounts of torque, which means the car can move smoothly and effortlessly despite its enormous size. Unlike modern turbocharged engines that focus on efficiency, this massive naturally aspirated V8 delivers a completely different kind of driving experience with deep power and classic American character. According to the seller, the car runs and drives well and has received many new parts over the past year. In my opinion, that is extremely important because maintaining a vintage luxury car can become expensive very quickly. The seller states that more than $4,000 have already been invested into parts alone, which is actually the same as the asking price of the vehicle itself. That tells me this Cadillac has likely been cared for rather than neglected. Several upgrades and repairs have already been completed, including a new Edelbrock intake manifold, Holley 4-barrel carburetor, timing chain, exhaust system, starter, heater core, air filter, window motors, and tires. Personally, I think those upgrades make the car much more appealing because many of the expensive maintenance items have already been addressed. The emissions equipment has also been removed, which is a common modification among classic car enthusiasts looking for a cleaner engine bay and slightly improved engine performance. Finished in gold with a matching gold interior, this Coupe DeVille has exactly the kind of styling that made 1970s Cadillacs so recognizable. Personally, I think modern cars often lack the personality and bold appearance that older luxury cars had during this era. The long body lines, chrome trim, oversized dimensions, and soft luxury-focused design give this Cadillac a road presence that is almost impossible to replicate today. Even parked at a local gas station or car meet, a classic Coupe DeVille like this tends to attract attention simply because of how large and unique it looks. Inside the cabin, the car likely delivers the soft and comfortable driving experience Cadillac was known for. During the 1970s, Cadillac focused heavily on comfort rather than sportiness, so these cars were designed to glide over the road with smooth suspension and spacious seating. Personally, I think that relaxed driving experience is one of the main reasons why classic Cadillacs still have such a loyal following today. They provide a completely different feeling compared to modern performance-oriented vehicles. The seller does honestly mention a couple remaining issues. The starter ground occasionally has trouble connecting properly, and the engine develops a ticking noise once it warms up. The seller suspects it may be timing related, but is not completely certain. In my opinion, being upfront about those issues is actually a positive sign because honesty is very important when selling classic vehicles. No older car is ever completely perfect, especially one that is over 50 years old. Overall, I think this 1975 Cadillac Coupe DeVille could be a very interesting opportunity for someone looking for an affordable classic American luxury car with strong personality and vintage charm. It already has many new parts installed, it runs and drives, and it still offers the unforgettable experience of owning a giant Cadillac powered by one of the largest production V8 engines ever made. Located in Geneseo, New York, the car is currently listed for $4,000, and the seller is open to offers or possible trades depending on the situation. Number 6. This 1968 Pontiac Firebird convertible honestly feels like the kind of classic American car that was built to make every drive feel special. In my opinion, first-generation Firebirds have always had a really unique identity because they combine muscle car performance with stylish design and a more refined personality compared to some other cars from the same era. And when you add the convertible body style, it completely transforms the entire experience. The first thing that immediately grabs my attention is the green exterior paired with the black interior. Personally, I think this combination gives the car a perfect late 60s look. The green paint feels vintage, classy, and different from the usual colors you see on classic muscle cars today. Meanwhile, the black interior balances everything out and gives the car a timeless appearance that still looks good decades later. What I personally love most about this Firebird is the convertible design. Cars like this were made for cruising, not just driving. I can easily imagine taking this car out on a warm summer evening with the top down, hearing the V8 engine rumble while slowly driving through town. In my opinion, classic convertibles create a feeling that modern cars simply cannot recreate anymore. They make driving feel more emotional and connected. Under the hood, this Firebird has a 350 Chevy engine, and honestly, I think that makes the car even more interesting. The Chevy 350 is legendary because of its reliability, simplicity, and strong performance. It's one of those engines that almost every classic car enthusiast respects. Personally, I think having a 350 Chevy makes ownership easier because parts are easy to find and the engine itself has a huge reputation for durability. The hooked headers are another detail that immediately stood out to me. In my opinion, sound is one of the most important parts of owning a classic muscle car. Modern vehicles today might be faster and more advanced, but they often lack the raw sound and personality of old-school V8 engines. I can already imagine this Firebird producing that deep, aggressive exhaust note that instantly turns heads whenever it drives by. Another thing I really appreciate is the amount of recent work that has already been done to the car. According to the seller, it received a new torque converter, new gearbox, new valve covers and gaskets, a new intake, new power steering hoses, and a recently replaced timing cover gasket. Personally, I think that's a very good sign because it shows the car was actively maintained instead of neglected. Older vehicles always require attention and upkeep, so seeing a long list of newer parts gives me much more confidence in the overall condition of the car. The seller even says it runs and drives like new, which honestly sounds impressive for a vehicle that's nearly 60 years old. One thing I actually respect is the honesty about the convertible top needing replacement. In my opinion, no classic car is truly perfect, and I prefer sellers who are honest about small flaws instead of pretending everything is flawless. And honestly, replacing a convertible top feels much more manageable compared to dealing with serious rust or major engine issues. The mileage shows just over 100,000 miles, but personally, I don't think mileage matters as much on classic cars as maintenance and condition. A well-cared-for older vehicle can still feel amazing even with higher mileage. Visually, I think the 1968 Firebird has one of the best designs from the late 60s. It's sporty, clean, aggressive, and elegant at the same time. Some muscle cars from that era feel oversized or too aggressive, but the Firebird has a really balanced look that still feels stylish today. The automatic transmission also fits the personality of this car perfectly in my opinion. A convertible cruiser like this should feel smooth and relaxing to drive, and the automatic setup likely makes it much more enjoyable during long cruises or weekend drives. Now, the asking price is $25,500, and honestly, in today's classic car market, that feels understandable for a first-generation Firebird convertible with a strong running setup and clean title. Classic convertibles continue to become more desirable every year, especially ones that still look complete and well-maintained like this one. Overall, in my opinion, this 1968 Pontiac Firebird convertible feels like the perfect combination of classic muscle car attitude and relaxed open-top cruising. It has style, personality, sound, and vintage charm that modern vehicles simply cannot replace. And honestly, I think this is exactly the kind of classic car that makes people fall in love with old American automobiles in the first place. Number 7. Today we're taking a look at a very unique and heavily upgraded 1969 Ford Falcon Custom, and honestly, this is the kind of classic street machine that looks like an absolute blast to drive. At first glance, it already has that aggressive late 60s muscle car attitude, but once you read the details, you realize this Falcon is far from stock. Under the hood sits a built 351 Cleveland V8 paired with a built C4 automatic transmission, and in my opinion, that combination alone makes this car sound incredibly fun. The 351 Cleveland is one of Ford's most respected performance engines because of its strong power potential and unmistakable sound. Add headers and a full 3-inch exhaust system, and this Falcon probably has the kind of deep muscle car rumble that instantly turns heads the second it fires up. What I personally like about this build is that it seems designed to actually be enjoyed on the road instead of just sitting in a garage. The seller mentions the car runs great, and it also comes equipped with air conditioning, which is a huge bonus in a classic car. A lot of older muscle cars sacrifice comfort for performance, but having AC makes cruising in warm weather much more enjoyable. The upgrades continue with Wilwood front disc brakes and a Ford 9-inch rear end with 3.89 Posey gears. Honestly, those are the kinds of modifications that tell you someone put serious thought into building this car properly. Better brakes, stronger rear-end components, and performance gearing can completely transform how an old classic feels behind the wheel. Another thing that stands out is the custom interior. According to the listing, the car has bucket seats along with a custom console and built-in shifter setup. Personally, I think a well-done custom interior can really elevate the overall experience of a classic car because it makes the cabin feel more driver-focused and modern while still keeping that vintage personality. The red exterior paired with the black interior also gives this Falcon a timeless muscle car look. In my opinion, you can never really go wrong with that color combination on an American classic. The bright red paint gives the car strong visual presence, while the black interior keeps everything looking clean and sporty. One interesting thing about the Ford Falcon is that it often gets overlooked compared to Mustangs and Torinos from the same era. But honestly, that's part of what makes this car cool. It's different. You don't see customized Falcons nearly as often, especially ones built to this level. That uniqueness alone can make the car stand out even more at local car shows or cruise nights. The seller mentions they're letting the car go because they're getting too old to drive it, and honestly, stories like that are pretty common in the classic car world. A lot of these vehicles have been loved and enjoyed for years before eventually being passed on to the next enthusiast who will continue taking care of them. With only around 23,000 miles listed, a clean title, and no major reported problems, this Falcon sounds like a very solid classic for someone wanting a mix of vintage style and upgraded performance. It seems like the expensive work has already been completed, which can save a future owner a lot of time and money. Located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, this 1969 Ford Falcon Custom is listed for $22,500. Overall, in my opinion, this looks like a very cool street-driven muscle car with the right balance of power, comfort, custom touches, and classic American attitude. Number 8. A classic 1973 Ford LTD that perfectly captures the smooth and luxurious feeling of full-size American cars from the early 70s. In my opinion, vehicles like this are becoming harder to find in clean and original condition because many of them were either heavily used, abandoned over time, or simply disappeared from the roads decades ago. This particular Ford LTD stands out because it appears to have been carefully preserved while still being regularly driven and enjoyed. Finished in a green exterior with a brown interior, the car carries a very authentic vintage appearance that immediately reflects the styling trends of its era. Personally, I think the green and brown color combination works extremely well on a large luxury sedan like this because it gives the vehicle a warm and elegant personality that feels unmistakably 70s. One of the most impressive details about this car is the reported mileage of only 57,000 miles. According to the seller, the vehicle spent its entire life in Southern Virginia and North Carolina, which is extremely important for a classic car of this age because it means the body avoided the harsh winter road salt that often destroys older vehicles in northern states. The seller specifically mentions that the car has absolutely no rust, and in my opinion, that may be one of the strongest selling points in the entire listing. Rust repair on large classic sedans can become incredibly expensive and time-consuming, so finding a rust-free example already puts this LTD in a much more desirable position compared to many other vintage American cars on the market today. The interior is also described as mint condition, which personally makes this Ford even more appealing. Cars from this era were designed with comfort in mind, featuring soft seating, spacious cabins, and smooth highway cruising characteristics that modern vehicles rarely offer anymore. In my opinion, full-size American sedans like the LTD were built during a time when driving was meant to feel relaxed and comfortable rather than aggressive or sporty. This car likely delivers exactly that type of classic driving experience, making it ideal for weekend cruising, local car shows, or simply enjoying the nostalgia of vintage American motoring. Mechanically, the seller states that several important maintenance items have already been replaced, including a new radiator, fuel pump, refurbished carburetor, shocks, air conditioning compressor, rear brake cylinders, and tires. Personally, I think this is extremely valuable because many classic cars require immediate repairs after purchase, especially if they have been sitting and used for years. Here, the seller appears to have already handled much of the important maintenance needed to keep the vehicle dependable and roadworthy. The fact that the current owner still drives the car 3 to 4 days a week also suggests that the LTD remains reliable enough for regular use rather than being treated as a garage-only showpiece. The styling of the 1973 Ford LTD is another reason why this car feels so special today. The large body proportions, chrome trim, long hood, and formal design language give the car a strong road presence that modern vehicles simply cannot recreate. In my opinion, large American sedans from this era carried a certain elegance and confidence that made them feel important wherever they went. Even today, a clean and well-preserved LTD like this can easily attract attention because cars of this size and style have become increasingly rare over the years. Priced at $7,800 and located in Louisburg, North Carolina, this 1973 Ford LTD appears to be an excellent opportunity for someone looking to own a genuine piece of American automotive history without spending a fortune. In my opinion, this car would be perfect for enthusiasts who appreciate originality, comfort, and classic 70s styling more than extreme performance or heavy customization. With its rust-free body, mint interior, recent maintenance, and smooth cruising personality, this Ford Ltd represents the kind of classic car that can still be enjoyed on the road exactly the way it was intended more than 50 years ago. Number 9. A clean and well-preserved 1985 Buick Regal Limited Coupe that perfectly represents the smooth style and comfortable cruising experience of classic 1980s American cars. In my opinion, this Regal stands out because it offers originality, low mileage, and a very solid foundation for either a stock cruiser or a future performance project. While many cars from the 1980s have been heavily modified, neglected, or rusted over time, this example appears to have remained surprisingly clean and well-maintained for its age. Powered by the original 3.8-liter V6 engine paired with an automatic transmission, this Buick Regal delivers the kind of relaxed driving experience that made these cars popular during the mid-1980s. The 3.8 engine is widely known for being dependable, smooth-running, and easy to maintain, making it a good fit for someone who wants a classic car that can still be driven comfortably on a regular basis. In my opinion, one of the best things about this Regal is that it has remained mostly original, which is becoming harder to find as more of these G-body cars continue to disappear or get heavily modified over the years. According to the seller, the vehicle has only around 63,500 miles, and both the body and frame are described as being extremely clean. That is especially important for a car from this era because rust can often become a major issue on older G-body vehicles. In my opinion, having a clean frame and solid body adds a lot of value because it gives future owners far more flexibility. Someone could enjoy the car exactly as it sits today, or use it as the foundation for a much more serious performance build later on. The exterior is finished in blue with a matching blue interior, giving the car a very classic 1980s appearance. The color combination feels authentic to the time period and helps preserve the original personality of the vehicle. Inside, the seller mentions that the interior remains in nice condition overall, although the headliner is currently missing. However, the replacement panel is included with the car, which is a positive sign that the owner already planned to address the issue. In my opinion, small cosmetic imperfections like this are not a major concern, especially considering the overall condition and originality of the vehicle. One of the most interesting details in the listing is the seller's comment that this Regal would make an excellent V8 swap car. That statement makes a lot of sense because Buick Regals from this generation share the same G-body platform as vehicles like the Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS and Buick Grand National. These cars are popular among enthusiasts because they are lightweight, rear-wheel drive, and easy to modify. In my opinion, this creates two different paths for the future owner. One option is to preserve the car as a clean original cruiser with its factory V6 setup. The other option is to transform it into a much more powerful street machine with a V8 engine swap, turning it into something that could compete with far more expensive muscle cars. The seller also mentions having no urgency to sell and appears mainly interested in finding a black Monte Carlo SS with a maroon interior. That suggests the car is not being sold because of major problems or desperation, but simply because the owner may be looking for a different project. Located in Chillicothe, Ohio, and priced at $7,950, this 1985 Buick Regal Limited feels like a very affordable entry into the world of classic G-body cars. Overall, in my opinion, this Regal represents a great opportunity for someone looking for a clean and mostly original 1980s American coupe with strong future potential. Whether left stock for comfortable cruising or eventually transformed into a V8 powered street car, this Buick offers the kind of style, simplicity, and rear-wheel drive character that continues to keep G-body cars popular with enthusiasts decades later. Number 10. 1971 Ford Ltd Coupe. In my opinion, this 1971 Ford Ltd Coupe is one of those classic American cars that perfectly captures the feeling of early 1970s luxury cruising. Back during this era, full-size coupes were designed to deliver comfort, smooth performance, and a strong road presence rather than sharp handling or aggressive speed. The Ford Ltd was considered one of Ford's premium full-size models at the time, and this particular example appears to have survived in remarkably original condition. What makes this car especially interesting is the fact that it has remained with only one owner and still retains much of its factory originality more than 50 years later. According to the seller, this Ltd is completely original and remains rust-free, which is honestly one of the biggest selling points for a classic car from this generation. Rust has always been one of the most expensive and difficult problems to repair on older full-size American vehicles, especially in areas that experienced harsh winters and road salt. Personally, I think finding a clean rust-free example like this can save a future owner an enormous amount of money and restoration work. The seller also describes the vehicle as mint with no major issues, suggesting that the car has likely been carefully maintained throughout its life. Under the hood, the specific engine is not mentioned, but the LTD lineup during this era was known for offering smooth and powerful V8 engines designed for relaxed cruising. Paired with an automatic transmission, this coupe was built to provide effortless highway driving and comfortable long-distance travel. Personally, I think cars like this represent a completely different driving experience compared to modern vehicles. Instead of focusing on sportiness or technology, they were designed around comfort, quietness, and smooth road manners. The large body, soft suspension, and spacious interior all contribute to that classic American luxury feeling. The seller mentions several recent maintenance items including a new battery, fresh oil change, and new motor mounts. In my opinion, those details are important because they show the car has not simply been sitting neglected. Older vehicles often develop problems when they remain parked for long periods without use, so basic maintenance and regular operation can make a huge difference in reliability. The seller also states that the car starts right up, which is always reassuring for anyone considering a vintage vehicle. One feature that really stands out is the factory air conditioning system. During the early 1970s, factory air conditioning was still considered a desirable luxury option on many vehicles, especially large personal coupes like the LTD. Personally, I think having factory AC adds a lot to the driving experience because it makes the car far more enjoyable during warm weather cruising while also helping preserve its original luxury character. Finished in green with a black interior, this Ford LTD coupe has the kind of understated but elegant appearance that defined many American luxury cars of the era. Personally, I think the color combination works very well because the darker interior complements the classic green exterior nicely without feeling overly flashy. The long coupe body style also gives the car a very sleek and stylish profile that stands out compared to many modern vehicles today. Large two-door American coupes from this period have become increasingly rare, especially examples that remain mostly original and well-preserved. Another thing I find interesting about this car is the low reported mileage of only 25,000 miles. While mileage on older classics should always be viewed carefully, if accurate, that would make this LTD an exceptionally preserved survivor. Combined with the one-owner history and rust-free condition, it gives the impression that this car may have spent much of its life carefully stored and properly maintained. Personally, I think original survivor cars like this are becoming more appreciated because they preserve the authentic look and feel of the era without heavy modifications or incomplete restorations. Cars like the 1971 Ford LTD Coupe also represent a unique moment in American automotive history before downsizing became common later in the decade. These vehicles were built large, comfortable, and luxurious with very little concern for fuel economy compared to modern standards. Driving one today feels almost like stepping back into another time period where road trips, comfort, and smooth cruising mattered more than aggressive performance numbers or advanced technology screens. Overall, I think this 1971 Ford LTD Coupe could be a fantastic option for someone searching for an affordable and highly original classic American cruiser. The combination of one-owner history, rust-free condition, factory air conditioning, low mileage, and overall originality makes it stand out from many older full-size cars currently on the market. Located in South Ozone Park, New York, this classic Ford is listed for $8,500 and appears to offer a rare opportunity to own a very clean example of an increasingly uncommon early 1970s luxury coupe. Number 11. This 1971 Ford Torino Cobra honestly feels like the kind of muscle car that instantly reminds people why the early 70s are considered one of the greatest eras in American automotive history. In my opinion, the Torino Cobra has always been one of Ford's most underrated performance cars because it combines aggressive styling, powerful V8 performance, and massive road presence all in one package. And this particular example sounds especially impressive. The first thing that immediately grabs my attention is the factory grabber yellow paint. Personally, I think bright colors like this perfectly match the personality of classic muscle cars. Back in the 70s, manufacturers wanted their cars to stand out, and this Torino definitely does that. Combined with the black interior, the whole car has an aggressive but clean appearance that still looks exciting even more than 50 years later. One thing that makes this car really special in my opinion is the fact that it's a real factory M-code Cobra. Authenticity matters a lot in the classic car world because many cars get cloned or modified over time. But knowing this is a genuine Torino Cobra gives the car much more value and personality. It feels like a true survivor from the golden age of American muscle. Under the hood sits the factory 351 4-barrel V8 paired with a 4-speed manual transmission, And honestly, I think that combination is exactly what muscle car enthusiasts love most. Modern cars today may be faster and more advanced, but classic V8 cars like this deliver a completely different kind of experience. They feel raw, mechanical, loud, and connected to the driver in a way modern vehicles sometimes can't replicate. Personally, I think the 4-speed manual transmission changes the entire character of the car. Instead of simply cruising comfortably, it makes the driving experience much more engaging. You're shifting gears yourself, hearing the engine rev higher, and feeling every bit of the car's power and personality. And honestly, one of my favorite features on this Torino is definitely the shaker hood. In my opinion, shaker hoods are one of the coolest designs ever created during the muscle car era. Watching the shaker move with the engine gives the car so much attitude and aggression. Even today, it still looks incredibly cool. The seller also mentions power steering and power disc brakes, which I personally think are very important for a large muscle car like this. Older performance cars can sometimes feel heavy compared to modern vehicles, so having power steering likely makes this Torino much easier and more enjoyable to drive. The power disc brakes are another huge advantage because stopping power matters just as much as horsepower. Another detail I really like is the brand new Magnum 500 wheels wrapped in BF Goodrich radial T/A tires. Honestly, classic muscle cars just look perfect with this setup. The raised white leather tires instantly give the car that authentic 70s performance appearance that enthusiasts love so much. One thing that makes this Torino even more valuable in my opinion is the included deluxe Marti report and original window sticker. Documentation is extremely important in the collector world because it helps prove authenticity and factory specifications. Cars with original paperwork often become much more desirable over time. The seller also describes the car as solid, dry, rust-free, and originally from California, which honestly might be one of the best things you can hear when looking at a classic muscle car. Rust is one of the biggest problems with vintage vehicles, especially from this era, so hearing that this Torino is rust-free immediately makes it more attractive. The mileage is just under 99,000 miles, but personally, I think condition matters much more than mileage on classic cars. A well-maintained and rust-free vehicle will almost always be more valuable than a low-mileage car that was neglected. What I personally love most about this Torino Cobra is that it sounds like a car meant to be enjoyed. The seller describes it as a driver-quality car, and honestly, I think that's a positive thing. Some classic cars become so expensive and over-restored that owners are afraid to drive them. But this Torino feels like the kind of muscle car you could actually take out on the road, hear the V8 rumble, shift through the gears, and truly enjoy. Now, the asking price is $42,500, and honestly, considering the originality, factory Cobra status, 4-speed setup, rust-free condition, and documentation included, I can understand why the seller values it there. Genuine muscle cars from this era are becoming harder to find every year. Overall, in my opinion, this 1971 Ford Torino Cobra represents everything people love about classic American muscle cars. It has bold styling, real V8 performance, rare factory features, and a personality that modern vehicles simply cannot duplicate. And honestly, I think this is exactly the kind of car that would make every drive feel unforgettable. Number 12. Today we're looking at a true Mopar icon, a 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner finished in a beautiful and very unique frost green color combination. And honestly, in my opinion, this is exactly the kind of classic muscle car that captures everything people love about the late 60s era. Big V8 power, aggressive styling, simple performance-focused design, and just enough personality to stand out from the crowd. What immediately caught my attention about this Roadrunner is that it's a real RM23 car with its original numbers matching 383 engine still in place. For Mopar enthusiasts, that's a huge deal because originality matters a lot in the classic muscle car world. The seller also mentions the original fender tag is still with the car, which adds even more authenticity and collectability. This Roadrunner is powered by the legendary 383 cubic inch V8, paired with the original TorqueFlite automatic transmission. Personally, I think the 383 is one of the best all-around Mopar engines from that era. It delivers strong performance, a great exhaust sound, and enough torque to make these big-body muscle cars feel powerful without being overly complicated. And speaking of sound, the listing says the car has dual exhaust all the way out the back with chrome tips, and honestly, I can already imagine how good this thing probably sounds cruising down the road. Old-school muscle cars have a completely different type of engine note compared to modern performance cars. It's deeper, rawer, and much more mechanical. The frost green exterior is another detail that really separates this road runner from many others. Most people picture muscle cars in red, black, or orange, but personally, I think this factory F3 green color gives the car a much cooler vintage personality. Combined with the matching green luxury cloth and vinyl bench seat interior, it creates a very authentic late 60s look that feels both classy and aggressive at the same time. The seller describes the car as super straight and solid with original metal, and that's always important when talking about classic Mopars because rust repair on these cars can become extremely expensive. In my opinion, finding a well-kept example with solid body panels is one of the biggest advantages a buyer can ask for. Another thing I really like about this car is that it seems properly sorted out mechanically. According to the listing, everything works, including the famous beep beep horn, which honestly is one of the coolest little features on a roadrunner. It adds character and reminds you that Plymouth originally designed these cars to be fun, affordable performance machines with a sense of humor. The interior also sounds very well preserved. The seller mentions very nice seats, door panels, dash, headliner, carpet, and glass. That's important because restoring interiors on classic muscle cars can cost a fortune, especially when trying to keep things factory correct. This roadrunner also comes equipped with power steering, factory gauges, Magnum-style wheels, Cooper Cobra white letter tires, and the factory 8 3/4 rear end with 3.23 gears. Honestly, those are all desirable features that make the car more enjoyable to drive while still keeping its classic muscle car identity intact. One thing I personally appreciate about the 1969 Roadrunner is that it was never meant to be a luxury car. It was designed to deliver straight-line performance and aggressive styling without unnecessary extras. That simple formula is exactly why these cars became legends in the muscle car world. And even today, more than 50 years later, a clean Roadrunner still has incredible road presence. Whether parked at a car show or driving down the street, people immediately recognize the shape, the stance, and the attitude these cars carry. Located in Cleves, Ohio, this 1969 Plymouth Roadrunner is listed at just under $40,000. Overall, in my opinion, this looks like a very solid and highly desirable Mopar muscle car with great originality, beautiful factory colors, strong performance, and the kind of timeless appeal that continues to make classic Roadrunners one of the most respected American muscle cars ever built. Number 13. A classic 1965 Ford Mustang that represents one of the most iconic American cars ever produced. In my opinion, first-generation Mustangs continue to hold a special place in automotive history because they successfully combine sporty styling, affordability, and everyday drivability in a way that completely changed the American car market during the 1960s. Even decades later, the 1965 Mustang remains instantly recognizable around the world, and examples in clean condition still attract strong attention from collectors and enthusiasts alike. This particular car, located in Piqua, Ohio, is described by the seller as being in used like new condition, which immediately makes it stand out among many older Mustangs that often require major restoration work. One of the most interesting aspects of this Mustang is its six-cylinder engine configuration. While many people automatically focus on V8-powered muscle cars, personally, I think the inline-six Mustangs deserve more appreciation because they offer a different kind of classic driving experience. Instead of emphasizing raw horsepower and aggressive performance, the six-cylinder models were designed to deliver smooth cruising, lighter handling, better fuel efficiency, and more comfortable everyday usability. For many classic car enthusiasts, that balance can actually make the car more enjoyable to drive regularly, especially for relaxed weekend cruising or local car shows. The 1965 model year was especially important because it marked the very beginning of the Mustang legacy. When Ford first introduced the Mustang, it quickly became one of the most successful automotive launches in American history. In my opinion, owning an early Mustang like this means owning a genuine piece of automotive culture. The styling alone is enough to understand why these cars became so popular. The long hood, compact body proportions, chrome trim, and sporty appearance helped create a completely new category of American cars that would later become known as pony cars. Even today, the design still feels timeless and continues to attract attention wherever these vehicles appear. Although the listing provides limited mechanical details, the seller specifically mentions that serious buyers are welcome to ask questions, which suggests confidence in the condition of the vehicle. Personally, I think that can often be a positive sign because sellers who are willing to communicate openly about their cars usually understand the value and condition of what they are offering. The used-like-new description also suggests that the Mustang may have been carefully maintained or restored over the years to preserve its appearance and drivability. Another reason why six-cylinder Mustangs remain appealing today is their accessibility compared to high-performance V8 variants. Fully restored V8 fastbacks and GT models have become extremely expensive in recent years, making them difficult for many enthusiasts to afford. In my opinion, six-cylinder coupes like this one offer an excellent entry point into classic Mustang ownership while still delivering the same iconic styling and nostalgic driving experience. They also provide an opportunity for future customization if a buyer ever decides to upgrade performance components later on. The asking price for this 1965 Ford Mustang is $21,000. Personally, I think much of the value comes from the Mustang's legendary reputation, classic styling, and overall condition. Early Mustangs continue to remain highly desirable because parts availability, aftermarket support, and enthusiast communities are all incredibly strong, making ownership and maintenance much easier compared to many other classic cars from the same era. That support network is one of the reasons why first-generation Mustangs continue to remain among the most popular classic American cars in the world. Located in Piqua, Ohio, this 1965 Ford Mustang appears to offer a clean and well-preserved example of one of the most important vehicles in American automotive history. In my opinion, this car would be ideal for someone who appreciates classic styling, smooth vintage cruising, and the timeless character that only an early Mustang can provide. Whether used as a weekend driver, local show car, or long-term collectible, this Mustang represents a piece of American automotive heritage that continues to remain admired more than 60 years after its original release. Number 14. A stunning 1966 Chevrolet Chevelle that appears to be far more than just another classic muscle car. In my opinion, this vehicle stands in a completely different category because of its connection to the legendary Smoky unit collection, something that instantly gives the car historical significance far beyond its already iconic appearance. For many classic car enthusiasts, a Chevelle from the mid-1960s is already highly desirable on its own, but when a vehicle carries ties to one of the most respected names in American motorsports history, it becomes something truly special. Finished in black with a matching black interior, this Chevelle has the kind of aggressive and timeless appearance that immediately demands attention. In my opinion, black is one of the best colors possible for a classic muscle car because it gives the vehicle a much more serious and intimidating personality. The clean body lines of the 1966 Chevelle already make it one of the most recognizable muscle cars of its era, but in black, the car feels even more powerful and elegant at the same time. It has the type of presence that naturally stands out whether sitting at a car show, parked in a private collection, or cruising down the road. One of the biggest reasons this Chevelle is so interesting is the mention of the Smoky unit collection. For anyone familiar with American racing history, Smoky Yunick was one of the most famous and innovative mechanics and race engineers ever involved in motorsports. He became legendary for building powerful race cars, pushing engineering limits, and finding creative performance solutions that made him respected throughout NASCAR and the automotive world. In my opinion, any car connected to Smoky Yunick immediately carries a level of importance and intrigue that ordinary classic cars simply do not have. The seller states that this vehicle spent 40 years in the Smoky Yunick collection, and honestly, that detail alone completely changes the identity of the car. Many classic cars can be restored, modified, or recreated, but original history and documented ownership stories cannot be duplicated. Cars connected to famous collectors, racers, or builders often become much more desirable because they represent a piece of automotive culture rather than just transportation. In my opinion, this Chevelle feels less like a regular muscle car and more like a preserved artifact from an important era of American performance history. The car is described as being in very good condition with a clean title and no significant damage or problems reported. With approximately 63,000 miles, it appears to have been preserved carefully over the years rather than abused or neglected. Collector-owned cars often receive a much higher level of maintenance and attention, especially when they remain in long-term ownership for decades. In my opinion, that long-term care likely helped preserve both the appearance and originality of this vehicle. Although the listing does not provide detailed engine specifications or extensive modification information, the seller mentions that there is simply too much history and information to include in a short advertisement. That statement alone creates a sense of mystery around the car and suggests there may be much more to discover for serious buyers or collectors willing to contact the seller directly. In my opinion, vehicles like this become exciting not only because of how they look or drive, but because of the stories, documentation, and historical connections attached to them. The automatic transmission also makes the car easier and more comfortable to drive compared to some fully race-oriented manual transmission muscle cars. While many high-end collector cars become difficult to actually enjoy on the road, this chevelle likely still delivers the classic muscle car experience while remaining usable and enjoyable for weekend drives or special events. In my opinion, that balance between collectability and drivability makes the car even more appealing because it allows the owner to experience the vehicle rather than simply storing it away permanently. Inside, the black interior likely complements the exterior perfectly, giving the entire car a clean and unified appearance. Classic chevelles from this era are known for their simple but driver-focused interiors, and when combined with black trim, the cabin often feels more refined and performance-oriented. In my opinion, the all-black color combination gives the car a timeless look that never really goes out of style. Located in Johnstown, Ohio, and offered at $75,000, this 1966 Chevrolet Chevelle clearly belongs in a higher level of the collector car market. While some people may initially focus on the price, the historical connection and long-term smoky unit collection background likely make this car far more valuable than an average restored Chevelle. Vehicles with documented ties to legendary figures in American motorsports history rarely appear for sale, especially with this kind of long ownership story attached to them. Overall, in my opinion, this Chevelle represents far more than just horsepower and classic styling. It feels like a genuine piece of American automotive history connected to one of the most respected names in racing culture. From the aggressive black exterior to the mystery surrounding its decades-long collector history, this car carries a level of personality and significance that very few classic muscle cars can truly match. Number 15. 1977 Chevrolet Malibu. In my opinion, this 1977 Chevrolet Malibu looks like the kind of classic American project car that could really appeal to someone who enjoys restoring older vehicles or building a budget street cruiser from the ground up. While it is clearly not a fully restored show car, the Malibu still offers something that many classic car enthusiasts search for first when looking at older vehicles, and that is a solid body and frame. For a car from the late 1970s, having a structurally solid foundation is often much more important than cosmetic appearance because rust and frame damage can quickly become expensive and difficult to repair. The seller honestly describes the condition as fair and mentions that the engine runs poorly and feels very tired. Personally, I actually appreciate that level of honesty because older project cars almost always need mechanical work, and transparent descriptions help buyers understand exactly what they are getting into before making a purchase. In many cases, classic cars at this price point are not being purchased because they are perfect daily drivers. Instead, buyers usually see them as long-term restoration projects, learning experiences, or affordable platforms for future modifications. One of the most positive details in the listing is the statement that the body remains solid and the frame is still in good condition. In my opinion, that alone could make this Malibu worth considering for the right person because structural rust is usually one of the biggest concerns on older American cars from this era. Mechanical problems can often be repaired more easily than major rust damage, especially for enthusiasts who enjoy working on engines or upgrading drivetrains themselves. A tired engine can eventually be rebuilt, replaced, or upgraded, but repairing a severely rusted frame or body can sometimes cost more than the vehicle itself. The seller also mentions that the car needs some floor work, which is fairly common on older vehicles that have spent decades exposed to moisture and changing weather conditions. Personally, I think minor floor repairs are generally more manageable compared to major structural rust problems, especially if the rest of the body remains solid as described. For someone with welding skills or restoration experience, this could become a very achievable project over time. Another thing that makes the 1977 Chevrolet Malibu interesting is the car's overall styling and place in automotive history. During the late 1970s, Chevrolet's Malibu lineup became known for offering a balance between practicality, comfort, and classic rear-wheel drive American performance potential. Over the years, these cars have become increasingly popular among hot rod builders and drag racing enthusiasts because the platform is lightweight compared to larger full-size sedans and responds well to engine swaps and suspension upgrades. Personally, I think the Malibu has a clean and timeless design that still looks good today, especially when restored properly or turned into a street machine. The seller is offering the car for $1,500 with the wheels and tires included or $1,200 without them. In my opinion, that price range makes this Malibu especially attractive for buyers searching for an affordable entry point into the classic car hobby. Many vintage American cars have become extremely expensive over the last several years, so finding a rear-wheel drive 1970s project car with a solid frame at this price is becoming less common. Even though it will clearly require work, the low asking price leaves room in the budget for repairs, upgrades, or customization depending on the future owner's goals. Personally, I could see this Malibu going in several different directions depending on the buyer. Some enthusiasts might choose to restore it back to a clean factory-style cruiser, while others could turn it into a drag car, sleeper build, or aggressive street project with modern performance upgrades. Cars like this often become blank canvases for creativity because they are simple, affordable, and relatively easy to modify compared to newer vehicles filled with complex electronics. Another thing I like about older project cars like this is that they allow enthusiasts to gradually build and improve the vehicle over time. Instead of spending a huge amount of money up front on a fully restored classic, some people actually enjoy the process of slowly bringing a car back to life piece by piece. That experience of working on the car, solving problems, and seeing progress over time becomes part of the enjoyment of ownership itself. Overall, I think this 1977 Chevrolet Malibu could be a very interesting opportunity for someone looking for an inexpensive classic American project car with solid bones and plenty of future potential. It is obviously not a perfect vehicle, and the engine issues mean the next owner should expect mechanical work, but the solid body and frame provide a strong starting point for restoration or customization. Located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, this Malibu is currently listed for $1,500 with wheels and tires or $1,200 without them, making it one of the more affordable ways to enter the world of vintage rear-wheel drive American classics.